Welcome to Athens Kaleidoscope. This is Nan Michael, otherwise known as Crone. And with me is co-producer Jane Penwell, otherwise known as Motormouth.
Unfairly, I might add.
Notice that was a new beginning because the old one just drug on and would give someone a chance to change channels.
Oh, well, we don't want to do that. Once we got you, we want to keep you.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Yep, I don't even know. I can't even remember when. I know several weeks. I don't know how long, but...
Yeah, well, one show, Jim sat in your chair and we talked about dreams. And I said I was going to talk about dreams some more, but I lie sometimes.
Well, you know, I'm glad you talked to somebody else because I'm one of those people who doesn't remember their dreams, knows nothing about them. So he was probably a better person for you to talk to than me.
So what have you been up to?
Well, I've been back and forth up to my son's house. My oldest grandson had his confirmation on Saturday at the cathedral in Toledo. So it was quite a big deal and quite exciting. And I've been also at his house because a week and a half ago, because I went to a workshop for work and it was in Lorraine. And he only lives about, I don't know, 20 miles, maybe not even that.
What kind of
15.
workshop is that?
It's for the prior learning assessment that I'm doing for my job at Ohio University. So I went up there for that and went to the workshop and drove back after the workshop. I should have just stayed because it was that real foggy, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of schools were delayed the next day and everything. The whole state of Ohio from north to south was blanketed by fog, and it was a terrible drive. Oh my gosh.
Did you know it snowed last night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little bit on my car this morning.
I just heard a rumor about it. I didn't see it.
Teeny little bit on my car this morning, and a little bit on some of the bushes, but nothing much.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they say snow, we tend to say, and you know, there were places that got inches of snow.
Really?
But luckily not us.
So have you seen any movies recently?
You know, no, I really haven't. Not very many because I've been gadding about.
Oh,
I haven't been here.
So you haven't been reading either?
Well, I do. I always take a book with me wherever I go. So, yeah, I have been reading. But as to movies, I'm trying to think what's the last one that I saw. Oh, I'm not sure. It'll come to me. I'll think of it. But anyhow, not my usual one a week. No, haven't been doing that. Probably will start up here pretty soon because my life's going to settle down. I'm going to be here for a while after Easter. So
I hope you're going to stay in Athens.
Well, for now. Yeah, for now.
And on September the 15th, 2015, I'm retiring, so we're needing a new crone for Kaleidoscope.
And if you see yourself as fulfilling that role, give us a call. We would love
We
to
may
hear
have
from you.
tryouts.
Yes, crone tryout. I think that would be excellent. Lots of fun.
Well, and the opening drum roll, whatever, we said that we were going to talk about elder jokes, and we are, but first I'd like to get something else out of the way.
Oh, well.
Which is, I heard, and I'm sorry to talk about things that they're talking about on CNN, but I think I heard that Boko Haram has joined ISIS.
Yeah, I think I heard that too. And
they're selling children.
Yeah, and girls for brides as well. Quote unquote bride. kind of a bride that would be. I don't know, but
Well, to also put suicide vests on them.
oh my gosh, makes me sick to think about it.
Well, I have probably most of my life been a pacifist, but and I don't have where I got this from, but I've got a couple of quotes here about pacifism. And pacifism is ultimately nothing more than a willingness to die and to let others die at the pleasure of the world's thugs. It should be enough to note that a single sociopath, armed with nothing more than a knife, could exterminate a city full of pacifists. Gandhi's remedy for the Holocaust was that he believed that the Jews should have committed mass suicide because this would have aroused the world and the people of Germany to Hitler's violence.
I wonder if he's right about that.
We might wonder what a world full of pacifists would have done once it has grown aroused. Commit suicide as well. So,
well, I think that's a pretty gloomy look at pacifism. I think, just take the Quakers, for example. I was raised and went to school in a town that was majority Quaker when I was growing up. And I'm quite sure you would call the Quakers pacifists, you know. But they didn't see themselves as doing nothing. They saw this as a positive, you know, statement. So their goal was to be pacifists, and therefore
was to what?
To be pacifists.
Oh yeah.
And therefore to be an example and an encouragement to other people to be that way.
Oh yes, ISIS. Yes, ISIS. We want to encourage you to love your neighbor.
Yes, we do. Now, whether or not any of that encouragement. See, that's just like Gandhi. When he started, they were beaten, I don't even know what all happened to them. But he just kept persisting. And this is what the Quakers believe too, that if you keep persisting in this, you know, and making this example over and over again, and Martin Luther King, look at him. It's like, if it's the right moment in time, this pacifism can actually accomplish a lot.
Well, I can't believe that as they're about to behead somebody, going up to them and saying, love your brother, and I want to encourage you to, you wouldn't have those words out of your mouth before you were killed.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. But that having been said, a lot of people have died in the name of pacifism, but it has made an inroad into the areas like Gandhi really made an inroad, made a difference, you know, changed the world, you might as well say. So, I don't know, maybe it's time has to be right, you know, for that particular movement to work. But sometimes it really does. And just take a sociopath with a knife. Well, there's nothing you can do. You know, what are you going to say that's going to make
That's
him
right.
change
You
his
can't
mind?
encourage them not to do it. And so if you're in a war with them, you put a bullet through them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not pacifism.
I was called for jury duty one time in a case that might have required the death penalty. And the attorney for the defense said to me, how do you feel about the death penalty? And I said, I see it as being very problematic because many of the people who are on death row don't, in my opinion, don't deserve to be there. He said, well, what if they did deserve to be there? And I said, well, take, for example, Ted Bundy. You know who he is. Ted Bundy was the guy that killed, 30 women out, or more, maybe even more than that, I don't know, out in the Northwest. Yes. Okay, fine. Because I know there's nothing we can do with him. He cannot be redeemed in any way, shape, or form. If he's loose in our society, he's going to kill. And that's just all there is to it. He's going to kill women. And they're going to be the type of women he chose were the ones who wouldn't even know who he was. I mean, he killed a certain type of female. So, yes, okay, I'll go for that. Because, A, he's obviously guilty, and B, we cannot control him any other way. We can't. So the guy said to me, the defense attorney said to me, so if my client were shown to be guilty of killing somebody, actually killing them, what would you do? And I said, well, I'd have to think long and hard about it. He said, well, suppose he's guilty of manslaughter, in other words, accidentally killing somebody. And I said, well, I don't see that as a reason for the death penalty personally. So I got on the jury because I said that. And he actually was convicted of manslaughter and not. They had him charged with murder 1, but the evidence did not support the charge. So he pled to manslaughter. He was not a nice person. I'm not sure having him in the population is a good thing. But on the other hand, they couldn't prove murder 1. They couldn't prove that he killed this person with intent. So these kinds of things get you in these situations where you're like, oh.
So if you're in the kind of situation where these scads of people are coming through with their flags and they're teenagers from abroad and their beheading equipment, torture equipment, it might be okay not to be a pacifist.
Yeah, well, what I would try to do is run away myself. But if
Run away?
Run away. Just run away.
You know what they call soldiers who run away.
Yes, I know, but listen, one thing I can tell you is I know when I'm beat. When that mob comes, I know there's not a darn thing I can do. So I'm going to turn tail and run. I'm not going to try and kill any of them because I couldn't. I'd have to get them all, to do any good, and I wouldn't do that. So I'll just run away.
Well, I think it's sad for idealistic young people who are vulnerable to idealism to be suckered into
I do
that
too.
and not.
I do too. But, there will always be some. They'll always be with us. And maybe like that girl who went over to help the Syrian refugees, and then was captured by ISIS and then killed by ISIS. Who knows what her death has meant to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I wish I did, but I don't. But I would say this. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true, and it will follow as night followeth day. Thou canst be false to no man." So
You heard it first on Kaleidoscope.
So do what's right for you, And the consequences are the consequences.
Okay, now, we had a program not too long ago about jokes about the elderly, and there were cloggers dressed in diapers with crutches and poking fun at old age anyway, and you and everybody, every woman I asked thought it was an insult to laugh about old age. Well, I got on Google and came across a number of jokes about various disabilities, including aging and cancer
No, I'm
and
sure.
death, and I'd like to read a little bit. The idea, according to the Google article, is that we make fun and we make jokes about subjects that we are nervous about, we fear, we have anxiety about. I didn't copy down any sex jokes, but people are a little shaky about the subject of sex.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. You know, it makes us feel better to be able to laugh about something. You know, if you, like they say, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So you might as well laugh. And I don't know that some of the jokes, I guess I would say, are insulting, but some of them are really funny. I get tons of them all the time, obviously.
Here's Haldane, Haldane, JBS, in 1964 wrote this. I'll just extract a little bit from this poem. It's called "Cancer's a Funny Thing." I wish I had the voice of Homer to sing of rectal carcinoma, which kills a lot more chaps, in fact, than were bumped off when Troy was sacked. They started operating on him. They next scraped out some bits of tissue. Before they did so, some good pal had knocked me out with pentothal, whose action is extremely quick and does not leave me feeling sick. The microscope returned the answer that I had certainly got cancer. And he describes had they made holes in various parts of him, one which was meant to function as a ventral vent. So now I am like Two-Faced Janus, the only god who sees his anus.
You gotta say, I mean, I admire him. You can take something that serious.
I'll swear without the risk of perjury, it was a snappy bit of surgery. My rectum is a serious loss to me, but I've a very neat colostomy, and hope as soon as I am able to make it keep a fixed timetable. So do not wait for aches and pains to have a surgeon mend your drains. If he says cancer, you're a dunce unless you have it out at once. My final word before I'm done is cancer can be rather fun. The National Health Service in England, NHS, is quite like heaven, provided one confronts the tumor with a sufficient sense of humor. I know that cancer often kills, but so do cars and sleeping pills. And it can hurt one till one sweats. So can bad teeth and unpaid debts. A spot of laughter, I am sure, often accelerates one's cure. So let us patients do our bit to help the surgeons make us fit. So that's kind of a brave.
It is brave. I admire him. And I think he's right. You know, laughter is best medicine. We've heard that all our lives. I think people who are gloomy and, you know, I don't know what, gloomy and never see the funny side of anything are worse off than those of us who can make a joke. I just really believe that helps.
I read this book by Ernest Becker called Denial of Death. Mm-hmm. And he said that most of our lives are spent denying the fact that we're going to die. And he got quite graphic. And he says the solution is to try and find one's own unique ability and try and be yourself as much as you can. And that's really a great book. I recommended another book last week, but Denial of Death took me about 6 months to read it. But this one site on Google has jokes listed by diarrhea, heart, hemorrhoids, fear of dying, death, just about anything you can think of.
Well, you know, whatever people...
Dementia.
Yeah, if we take this idea that humor is a way to push away fear, you know, and push it back, then there should be jokes about just about anything, I guess, that somebody might be afraid of. And therefore trying to lighten their load a little bit.
Except disabled people.
Except disabled people? What do you mean?
Yeah. Making fun of them, or I guess that applies to anybody. You don't make fun of them, but if you have a joke that, I don't know about that, especially if the person is not sufficiently disabled and understands what you're saying.
Well, I think in that case, they would have to do the joke, you know. I think that would only be funny if the disabled person made the joke. I don't think that would be funny if somebody else did. Like me, for instance, I wouldn't say something or tell a joke that I thought might be offensive to a disabled person. But if they told me one and I thought it was funny, I would laugh. So I think in those kind of circumstances, the person themselves would have to initiate any kind of humor like that.
And I can't even imagine that.
Oh, I can. I'm sure there's some people who probably have pretty good jokes about their disabilities, you know?
Well, if the disability is physical, maybe.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And some of the things that happen to you, even when you're temporarily disabled, which I have been with a broken leg and stuff like that, are funny. They really are. You know, things have happened to me under those circumstances, and I've ended up later on laughing about it because I thought, well, how absurd did I look doing that, you know?
Well, look at me. I can joke about being old.
Well, there you go. And really, if you joke about it, that makes it acceptable for somebody else to laugh. You know, somebody shouldn't, like for me, I'm short. Okay, I don't want to hear any short jokes. But if I tell you one that I think is funny, then I want you to laugh.
But you don't like other people telling short jokes.
No, and there used to be this song called Short People years ago, and everybody would sing that to me, and I just did not think it was funny at all. I'm like, what's your point? You know?
Well, I wouldn't like people singing Old Granny to me.
Right. See, that's the whole thing. The person themselves, whoever, whether it's a disability or whatever it is, you yourself have to think this is funny before it's acceptable. You know, if somebody sends you a joke and you don't think it's funny or acceptable, then you're going to be mad about it. You know, it's going to hurt your feelings or whatever it's going to do.
Well, some of the jokes on Google are about Alzheimer's, and evidently the caretakers feel relieved and can cope better if they can laugh about.
Absolutely. I'm sure of that.
I
was going to say my mother had a friend whose husband had Alzheimer's. And she used to tell about stuff that he would say and do. And we would laugh till we cried because it really was funny. And she was laughing too. So we're all laughing together. And of course, he wasn't there. And he probably wouldn't have understood it anyway. One night, she was getting ready for bed, you know, brushing her teeth and everything. She goes in the room, turns out the light and gets in bed. And he says, uh-oh. And she said, well, what's the matter? And he said, you know, my wife wouldn't like it if she knew you got in bed with me. She said, I am your wife. And he's like, ha, that's what you say. Stuff like that. I mean, how could you not laugh? She had to go out in the living room and laugh after all that. So there are funny things, and I think that does make your load lighter.
Well, John Cook stopped briefly in town this weekend and he just came from visiting his mother, who's 98, and she didn't recognize him, and he stood next to her and brought up some things that happened in the past or people they knew. And she looked at him and said, "Who are you?" And he said, "My name is John Cook." And that didn't light a bulb in her head. I think he ended up showing her his driver's license. My mother, at one time, was afraid that Sputnik was going to fall on her.
Oh, wow.
And that it was okay to eat chocolate because it was brown like wheat bread was.
I see. Well, see,
So,
there you go.
Here's three ladies were discussing the travails of getting older. One said, "Sometimes I catch myself with a jar of mayonnaise in my hand while standing in front of the refrigerator, and I can't remember whether I need to put it away or start making a sandwich." The second lady chimed in, "Yeah, sometimes I find myself on the landing of the stairs and can't remember whether I was on my way up or on my way down." The third one responded, "Well, ladies, I'm glad I don't have that problem. Knock on wood," as she rapped her knuckles on the table and then said, "That must be the door, I'll get it."
I wondered how that was going to end. Well, what are we going to show the audience now?
We're going to show the audience. The first thing is it the kittens?
I think it is, yeah. The kittens.
Kittens? Oh, no. Dance. Dancing. Oh, okay. I taped at Women's International Day at Baker Center last Sunday, and they just have act after act after act after act. Really remarkable and colorful and wonderful. And every year, Access tries to get as many of those shows as we can because they're certainly talented people. And the first tape we're going to see is of it's an Indonesian probably dance. Well, I'll just let you look for yourself. Words can't describe it.
And then we're going to do the kittens, right?
And then we're going to what?
Do the kittens.
Yes.
And then a fashion show.
Hey jalan, Assalamualaikum, kami ucapkan pada undangan yang kata dekat karena salam. Nabi kun sunat jarota muat, tanda mulia. Assalamualaikum, kami ucapkan pada undangan yang kata dekat karena salam. Nabi kun sunat jarota muat, tanda mulia mulia wajah, tanda perempuan mulia hati, mame suara sama kamu bah, kewada lingkar dari perhias, tanda mulia. Assalamualaikum, kami ucapkan pada undangan yang kata dekat karena salam. Nabi kun sunan jauh tamuan, tanda mulia mulia wajah, tanda perempuan mulia hati, mame suara sama kamu bah, kewada lingkar dari perhias, tanda mulia. Assalamualaikum, kami ucapkan pada undangan yang kata dekat karena salam. Nabi kun sunan jauh tamuan, tanda mulia mulia wajah, tanda perempuan mulia hati, mame suara sama kamu bah, kewada lingkar dari perhias, tanda mulia. Assalamualaikum, kami ucapkan pada undangan yang kata dekat karena salam. Nabi kun sunan jauh tamuan, tanda mulia. You may clap. So we have practiced this for 3 months, so you can see they are not only Indonesians, so we have someone from Cambodia, we have two from Cambodia and also from Madagascar. So this is really an intense dance, as you can see. Okay, that's a break for me. Now I'm going to continue. Hup. Hey, jala, tumile, lamile, jala, tula, jala, tumile, lamile, jala, tulumure, menari, lembato, rombuno, mahumba, nyambungu, ngomong, ana, pakai jala, tumile, lamile, jala, tula, jala, tumile, lamile, jala, tulumure, ding la hang ding la hum bot la ding la hum bot la ding hai na pute hai na pute la pute si bungo pute la pute si bungo pute hai la ba bing hai la ba bing la bing ke ai on ma ke la bing ke ai on ma ke ha ding la ding ding la ding la bot la ding la bot la ding hai na pute hai na pute la pute si bungo pute la pute si bungo pute hai la ba bing hai la ba bing la bing ke ai on ma ke la bing ke ai on ma ke ha ding la ding la ding la bot la ding la bot la ding Okay, are you guys ready for the finale? Yeah! Alright. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Okay. Hela otsa ila ombakmu alon kapaidi eta nama pura pura hebajute salah bukonsa lahon salahmu lapon awaidi katalan perahu layar labung kahu sabang kapata tiang tamangku halon hemanyone dilona dingone cupang wahie cupang bewayan senda hela otsa ilala ombakmu alon kapagi etra nama bura bura hebajute salah bukonsa lalon salahmu lapon awaidi katalan perahu layar labung kahu sabang kapata tiang tamangku halon hemanyone dilona dingone cupang wahie cupang bewayan senda hela otsa ilala ombakmu alon kapagi etra nama bura bura hebajute salah bukonsa lalon salahmu lapon awaidi katalan perahu layar labung kahu sabang kapata tiang tamangku halon hemanyone dilona dingone cupang wahie cupang bewayan senda hela otsa ilala ombakmu alon kapagi etra nama bura bura hebajute salah bukonsa lalon salahmu lapon awaidi katalan perahu layar labung kahu sabang kapata tiang tamangku halon hemanyone dilona dingone cupang wahie cupang bewayan senda hela otsa. If you notice that they did really good, but they were perfect before this, I don't know. Maybe they were just too nervous to perform in front of you guys. So, ha. Hey jalan.
So what you want to do? So this is my fashion collection. Some of the pieces from a collection I created. It's called Personalities because each outfit is unique and individual in its own way, kind of like everyone's personality. And I hope you enjoy.
those kittens. I feel kind of silly being an old woman who likes to photograph babies and animals and dumb things like that instead of whatever other people like to tape. But there were 6 kittens and at Friendly Paws.
Oh, cute.
And yeah, in a cage there.
Well, you know, the most popular videos on YouTube are cat videos. You know that, right? And the
Right.
funniest one that I've seen, and you could Google or go to YouTube and put this in, is somebody trying to put a leash on a cat and take the cat out. And when they put the leash on the cat, he just collapses like this. And they try to stand him up, and so it's really funny. So if you're into cat videos, try to find that one on YouTube.
Well, and then after the kitten video, stuck onto it is a great big strawberry that I got, and it had like 3 valves. It had 3 lumps on it, so.
Like 3 strawberries stuck together, huh?
Not stuck together, grown that way.
Oh.
So I thought that was kind of exciting. Mm-hmm. And it'll be a year until before we have another Baker Center.
Yeah, true.
International Women's Day.
We'll have the International Street Fair, though, here pretty soon.
And I want to say that Jim Chaney helped me out with the videotaping. It was 4 hours of shows. And so I took the first 2 hours, and he relieved me and did the last 2 hours, which was a huge help.
Good for him.
And he is a very talented videographer also.
Good.
He did many of the photographic exhibits. Okay, well, I got the high sign, and I ought to sit up straight, shouldn't I?
So that means we have to say goodbye.
That's right.
It's been a pleasure, Athens, and we hope you've had a joke along the way with us.
So long.
More next time. Bye.